This morning, wildfires are blowing up all over Colorado. The worst in the Black Forest area north of Colorado Springs, growing to about 8,000 acres in a matter of hours. As many as 60 structures have been damaged or destroyed. The blaze is out of control. Police helping thousands of people to get...
When I was a freshman in high school, I had to evacuate during the Black Forest fire. We watched the flames burning the nearby forest and choked on the thick haze of smoke for about a day before we got our mandatory evacuation orders at 2 a.m. We had to pick up the cats, dogs, rabbits, and chickens. And let me tell you, it's no easy task to crate up chickens at 2 in the morning. My mom had to come back for the horses and donkey the next day. Sadly, what I experienced is not uncommon for many people in Colorado. It's a fact that Colorado wildfires are intensifying, a general trend shared amongst Western states. Total acreage burned, structures destroyed, people and animals harmed are all increasing due to wildfire season. The 10 largest forest fires in Colorado have all occurred since 2002. Fire season has increased by 2.5 months. Wildfires classified as long-duration fires have increased by 4-fold since 1980. It's clear that wildfires are getting worse and worse. But what explains these dangerous trends? We'll let Dr. Hillary Hammond explain.
It's got a couple of factors behind it. One of the key ones is actually the history of our management of our forests. And we have had a variety of forest policies. One of the first ones was born out of some major forest fires that happened in the West in 1910. It was sometimes called the Big Blow-Up. And you can probably look up the exact number, but in fact, there were thousands of fires across the Rocky Mountain West. The smoke reached Washington, D.C. At the time, our Forest Service was a relatively new organization since 1905, based on the forest reserves that had been in place before that. But our forests were being viewed as, we're losing a really precious resource here to these fires. And so our first fire suppression, 100% suppression, was basically our fire policy, our national fire policy. And so the goal was to put out fires by 10 a.m. the next day and just not let them burn because they were viewed as destructive.
How are wildfires connected to climate change anyhow? Actually, climate change impacts our winter season more than it impacts our spring and summer season, which is when Wildfire Watch is on high alert. Our winters are shortening due to the changing climate, which means that the snow is melting and occurs earlier, which means that it gives more time for the land to dry out during the spring and summer seasons. It is because of this that we have seen an increase in our Wildfire Watch days by 78 days a year. That's an increase of 78 days that we're extra alert on our wildfires. Even though 80% of wildfires are caused by humans, the climate change exacerbates the duration and intensity of them because of how dry the land is where they occur. Shout out to our Colorado Fire Department for keeping us safe. Even though this is a global issue, we are seeing it occur right in our own areas.
So if wildfires are increasing in both number and intensity due to climate change, what does the future of Colorado look like?
I think the effects that we've seen would include, as we've mentioned, more fires, larger fires. We're seeing the impacts of smoke, and here in Colorado we actually don't get smoke just from our Colorado fires, but sometimes we get the haze from other western fires. So air quality is a challenge that hasn't been talked about as much, but I think people are starting to notice that. We get air quality reports, and we have enough problems right here in the Front Range when it comes to our air quality, so smoke is not helping with that.
Not only are humans, land, and wildlife in peril when it comes to wildfires, but so is economic stability. The total cost of U.S. firefighting in 2017 was $2.9 billion, which is more than 5 times the amount spent in 1985, even after adjusting for inflation. Colorado alone spent $130 million in firefighting. If the loss of life, structures, and wildlife isn't enough to convince people, the economic burden for all Americans should be.
The data represented in the graph shown is courtesy of the Insurance Information Institute and depicts the amount of total acreage burned each year by Colorado wildfires from the year 2010 to 2018, with the exception of the year 2012, in which no data was provided. As can clearly be seen by the graph, the year 2018 experienced a significant spike in acres burned by Colorado wildfires. This goes to show that drier lands and hotter conditions in Colorado is significantly increasing the amount of wildfires experienced in the region and decimating much of the wildlife and vegetation in Colorado.
Intensified wildfires are not only plaguing Colorado, but the entirety of the western United States. California, for example, has seen 14 of its 20 largest fires over the past 15 years, with a 5-fold increase in the time since 1972. And the western United States is only one part of the epidemic. Wildfires are increasing all across the globe in places such as Europe and Siberia. In fact, studies have found that fire season has lengthened across about 25% of Earth's surface, and that there has been a doubling of global burnable area that is now affected by long fire seasons. And fires are not the only problem in Colorado exacerbated by climate change. Climate change is driving a decrease in snowpack, where much of our water comes from, an increase in pine beetles, which destroy our forests, and warmth of our lakes and streams, affecting many species that call these bodies of water their homes.
Some believe wildfires are not getting worse due to climate change. They argue that natural patterns of precipitation cause droughts and less snowfall. However, most scientists agree that climate change is the culprit behind worsening wildfires.
I'd have to think about that carefully because there's a lot of reasons that somebody would say that. I think that it's falling back on sort of just looking at our basic understanding of what the effects of climate change are. And climate change is a broad term, so we could look specifically at something like global warming. And warming, as I mentioned before, warmer temperatures basically supports hotter fires. The threats really are not going away. If anything, they're getting perhaps a little more extreme, but I think that the knowledge and understanding about fire has become broader, and so there's a lot of conversations. So I started saying Southwest Colorado might be piloting a new effort to try to take the limited amount of money. We don't necessarily have unlimited funds to treat all of our forests and in the ways that we would like to, but to actually really concentrate those in certain areas where we think we can have the biggest impact, and try to, rather than spreading the funds, really focus. So we have, we're testing new ideas and seeing what will work. But I think, again, the more people that know what some of these drivers are, and then also how they can have impact, whether it's managing areas around their home or understanding the positive roles of fire, would help with support.